In this video we will take a look in more detail at the potential benefits associated with Level 5 autonomous vehicles and Level 6 system automation. The objective is to clarify whether the level of benefits are of sufficient magnitude to warrant the investment and that they are credible. By applying some of the results from an autonomous vehicle study undertaken by Atkins, for full Level 5 automation, urban commute journey time savings of 31% have been calculated. Effectively, these savings come from an assumption of better driving. For Level 6 system automation, a 45% saving comes from a combination of better driving and a different road system that does not require stopping or queuing for other traffic. Journey time variability is responsible for a lot of waste due to the need to plan with contingency time included just in case. Today's journeys are potentially delayed due to congestion from lack of capacity or poor driving, traffic light stoppages and pedestrian crossings. Wide-scale adoption of Level 5 autonomous vehicles would reduce the potential delays caused by poor driving but still be prone to the other factors. Level 6 system automation would eliminate all potential delay factors except for those associated with on-demand pedestrian crossings, and is also highly predictable for any given day and time. It provides the ability for the user to be fully aware of the worst case and necessary departure time to ensure prompt arrival. Additional usable time can be calculated based upon the journey time savings previously discussed and the ability to undertake productive activities whilst in the vehicle during travel. Assuming the occupant has the necessary constitution and motivation to wish to work during the commute, the means to do this will depend on the technology required and whether it can be adequately accessed from the vehicle. There is no reason why Level 5 autonomous vehicles could not be fitted with the necessary technology to allow work on the move, however it is not a certainty they will do so. Level 6 fleet vehicles will be capable of supporting current common technology formats required with an office or other knowledge-based role. In some cases, the usable time gained will be 100% of the previous journey time plus whatever contingency may have been planned into the departure time. Insurance industry estimates the average cost of motoring to be 54 pence per mile in 2023, with the bulk of the costs coming from fuel, vehicle purchase depreciation, insurance, repairs, servicing and road tax. Another approach to calculate this number is to use the total sector revenue divided by total UK mileage. Sector revenues are available from various industry watch sources, and the Department of Transport provides statistics on estimated total UK mileage. Using this method, the estimated cost per mile is 64 pence, the biggest differences being in vehicle depreciation and maintenance and repair. Using the sector revenue method and assuming energy cost and vehicle efficiencies based upon published data from seemingly credible sources, as government data is not available, the equivalent cost per mile for a Level 5 electric vehicle is 55 pence. The same approach used for a similar Level 6 enabled vehicle, which is estimated to be slightly more efficient because of improvements in traffic flows previously discussed, is 53 pence. The cost per mile of single-occupancy fleet vehicles have been calculated based upon the initial cost estimates for the pilot discussed in the previous video, some assumptions of vehicle life and operating costs for the infrastructure as well as fuel costs assuming significantly lighter vehicles. This works out to be approximately 11 pence per mile in the pilot and just 8 pence per mile assuming wide-scale adoption. Baseline information regarding motoring stress and the consequential impacts on health is not available. We can, however, consider some of the stress factors involved in motoring today and evaluate at a reasonably simplistic level the potential differences that might arise in either Level 5 or Level 6. Broadly, Level 5 autonomous vehicles improve the stress situation in some areas but do not fix issues associated with congestion and arrival uncertainty. What contribution these have to an overall level of stress is unknown. Level 6 seemingly alleviates all of the motoring stress factors considered. If significant numbers of privately owned vehicles were replaced with a Level 6 fleet, one of the very interesting side effects would be that parking requirements would be slashed. This would be on streets and driveways, places of business, shopping and leisure facilities. A very rough and probably conservative estimate is that there is about 229 square miles of concrete or tarmac set aside for parking in the UK today. For full implementation of Level 6 fleet, because of the smaller footprint, better parking density and ability to drop off and pick up, the parking requirements are only about 14 square miles, a saving of over 200 square miles. For comparison, Greater London is approximately 600 square miles. If we look at the breakdown of theoretical savings by land type and apply land value estimates published by Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government, it is possible to get some extremely rough estimates of the potential value of the land no longer required. About £100 billion. No equivalent benefit arises from wide adoption of Level 5 autonomous vehicles. Using DVLA survey data on trips by purpose, and applying the estimated percentage journey time savings previously described, it is possible to calculate annual per person per trip time savings. A 2016 government commissioned study into the financial impacts of journey time savings arrived at a set of figures for hourly benefits for different travel purposes. Combining these two sets of data gives a theoretical time-saving benefit of £72 billion for fully adopted Level 5 autonomous vehicles and over £100 billion for Level 6. Time-saving benefits associated with the wide adoption of autonomous vehicles will likely bring tangential benefits across other business sectors. For Level 6 fleet vehicle users, the ability to rapidly transit first class from home to the town centre, at the cost of around 10 pence per mile, is thought likely to encourage more people to visit what are often declining commercial spaces today. In a similar manner, other small businesses that are located perhaps in places that are more difficult to get to or lacking in parking could also benefit. Both Level 5 autonomous vehicles and Level 6 system automation allows for the control of all sizes of vehicles. If we consider an autonomous vehicle about the same size as a long-wheelbase van, approximately 2 meters wide and 7 meters in length, this gives a maximum internal footprint of 14 square meters or 150 square feet. If the vehicle chassis is fitted with the necessary fluids tanks for toilet facilities, it could then be used as a flexible mobile workspace. This opens up the potential for a wide range of business uses where going to the customer is the preferable option or where costs are prohibitive. One of the barriers to getting a business started, especially in a services-related trade, is the cost of the premises required. If operated under a leasing system, and with extremely long-life vehicle chassis design, costs could be as low as 1/10 that of a traditional office space. If we make some fairly logical extrapolations, over perhaps slightly longer timescales, it's not difficult to imagine automated mobile rooms providing low-cost living space. With some clever engineering design, these could be docked together and provide the ability to grow as needed. Along similar lines, the same basic chassis design could provide a platform for budget mobile hotel room facilities, perhaps with options to spend the evening somewhere scenic or to move between facilities in different locations. This same principle could be applied to offices in project-based industries or research sectors where temporary face-to-face collaboration is required. Rather than co-locate with all the associated disruption, or spend time and effort traveling and booking meeting rooms, a much better option might be to bring the offices with their occupants together at a meeting hub equipped with appropriate docking facilities. Another longer timeframe benefit of the large-scale adoption of fleet vehicle use rather than personal car ownership is the potential for residential construction in place of driveways and garages. As we have seen previously, a lot of space is associated with vehicle parking, a large percentage of it directly at the front of houses. Given the housing challenges faced today, the projected population growth and the inadequate rate of new build housing, there are still likely to be significant gaps in housing in the future. It makes a lot of sense to utilize the space currently devoted to cars to use for humans instead. Rough estimates for what that might look like economically can be shown against a baseline 2% increase in fixed capital formation. Firstly, the cost of the infrastructure and fleet vehicles to support Level 6 automation is shown in orange. Changes to residential and commercial properties enabled by the fleet adoption is shown in blue. A major difference between Level 6 system control and both today or wide-scale adoption of Level 5 is that road spaces can be utilized for activities additional to transport purposes. This can be done quickly, precisely, and without the need to make even temporary changes to physical infrastructure such as bollards and signs. The balance of trade associated with import and export of cars and parts has been net negative for at least 10 years. Most recent data from 2023, slightly anomalous because of historical vehicle shortages created by the pandemic and chip shortages, shows a trade deficit of about £15 billion. During the time required to develop the city pilots and assuming 2% per year growth in both exports and imports, the trade gap opens to about £20 billion by 2032. At some point after this time, imports of new vehicles should start to decline as the system fleet rollout begins. The export of new vehicles should not be impacted, but demand for import vehicles will drop over time. First to market advantages and existing manufacturing facilities mean there is a strong potential for fleet exports. A current deficit of £15 billion can be turned into a perhaps an £80 billion surplus and completely reverse the long-term decline in UK car manufacture. As climate change really starts to bite, there is every possibility that mass evacuation might be required from urban areas. For Level 6 system automation, very rough calculations of city population and land size suggest that, with the exception of London, all other major UK cities could theoretically be evacuated in under 10 hours at a very modest average speed of 25 miles per hour. If this was increased to 40 miles per hour, all major UK cities could theoretically be evacuated in under 7 hours. It is unclear how long this exercise would take today, but as we covered in the first video, even with a high degree of Level 5 automation, gridlock could still occur. Urban road traffic accidents are responsible for over 600 deaths each year and for tens of thousands of injuries and resultant lost work time and NHS demands. Using some basic logic and results from early US autonomous vehicle trials, it is estimated that deaths and major injuries will be reduced by nearly half and minor injuries by 70% with Level 5 autonomous vehicles. Level 6 is expected to reduce the deaths and major injuries by over 70% and minor injuries by 85%. In some circumstances, ambulance response times are critical to life or ongoing health conditions. Autonomous ambulances have the potential to reduce response times. There are several hypothesized levers to doing this. Firstly, there is no requirement for trained drivers and can be operated by one person if that was a current constraint. Under Level 6, ambulance arrival time can be exactly planned for at the hospital. Also under Level 6, other drivers and congestion will not delay the journey and conversely can be controlled along with pedestrian crossing to facilitate very rapid movement if required. There should be no route uncertainty for either Level 5 or Level 6. Although both scenarios reduce death and injury and therefore put less demand into the ambulance system, this is minor in comparison to the overall load. Bed availability for ambulance discharge will still remain an issue. Cars have a certain status association. If fleet vehicles are widely adopted, that will be somewhat neutralized. Level 6 fleet should be affordable to all. For many people that today use public transport as their main or only method of travel, especially when commuting, the time lost in comparison to those that can afford to drive is grossly unfair and hinders upward social mobility. For most of human history, communication was probably predominantly face-to-face and two-way. A series of technological developments, mainly in the last century, has dramatically altered this pattern. Compared to our ancestors, we spend a significant amount of time engaged in remote one-way communications, i.e. watching content, much of which is probably designed to sell or scam or otherwise change or reinforce our opinions. For better or worse, the trajectory appears to be an upwards trend of increased one-way communications. There are several factors that Level 6 fleet provides that would help enable more face-to-face communications, potentially altering the increasing one-way trend. Vehicles are often associated with crime, either directly or more likely indirectly as means of fleeing the crime scene. Level 6 has several factors that would be expected to reduce vehicle-enabled crime. There is the potential for central control to prevent quick and undetected scene escape if notified, and for better detection rates if the movement of all vehicles can be retrospectively established. In the unfortunate event of another pandemic, or just as prevention to the spread of disease, public transport in the form of a Level 6 vehicle fleet has significant advantages over buses in respect to being a possible transmission vector. There are a frightening number of health issues associated with breathing in small particulates in the air, termed PM10 and PM2.5 for their size in microns. There are tens of thousands of lives cut short, over 100,000 serious illnesses and millions of days lost each year due to respiratory issues associated with PM2.5. Not to mention the associated cost to the NHS. Studies have estimated that transport-related particles contribute about 12% of these figures. The breakdown of where the particles originate suggests a reasonably even split between brake dust, tire and road particulates and exhaust emissions. If we assume an electric or hydrogen drive system and less other particles are generated as a result of steadier driving, Level 5 is estimated to reduce PM2.5 emissions by 46%. Level 6 fleet will perform even more smoothly than Level 5 and with lighter vehicles generate less particles through mechanical abrasion. It is estimated to achieve about 60% total reduction against today. Applying these reduction rates, we can expect commensurate differences in the health outcomes previously considered for Level 5 and Level 6 automation. Ultimately, around 2,000 lives saved and up to 10,500 people not falling seriously ill each year due to the unfortunate side effects of road transport. Road transport accounts for a quarter of all carbon dioxide emissions in the UK today. Passenger cars make up about 60% of this number. If all cars and light goods vehicles were replaced with ones that were electric or hydrogen powered, this would result in a 54% reduction in road transport carbon emissions, or about 60 million tons. The residue emissions are from the primary energy source and reflect the current mix of renewables and hydrocarbons. If HGVs and buses were also fully electrified, this would reduce road transport carbon emissions by 68%, or 76 million tons. Full Level 6 fleet, with more efficient vehicle flows and smaller sizes, should result in a 74% reduction in carbon emissions, or about 83 million tons. The total UK carbon dioxide emissions saved under these scenarios is up to 18% of the UK total. In the next video, we will consider the implications of wide-scale adoption of Level 6 system automation and associated vehicle fleet on the supply chain and other impacted sectors.